Josh Welch asks, is it worth doing ads through Meta or am I wasting money again? Actually, somebody asked a very similar question, and I will answer them together because it's very similar to that, Josh. The question that came in was with Meta removing Facebook, removing targeting, and people using other platforms like TikTok, are Facebook ads still relevant? So very similar question. So I answer those two together. The answer to that is absolutely. People are still having a lot of success with Meta, but the thing is, you have to understand that there are a lot more ads on the platform than there ever were before, and people are being targeted in a way that maybe isn't as fine-tuned as it used to be. So they're seeing a lot of junk ads. So people right now feel like they're seeing a lot more garbage ads. They're not seeing good ads. So it's very important right now, more than ever, that your ads are really done properly, targeted well, and that your copy and your visual are really stand out. Because with so much noise, for lack of a better term, on the platform, you really have to step up your game to break through that noise and to get through. So short form answer to that, Josh, yes, you could do that. You do have to still spend time understanding the targeting, but more important than ever is to spend time thinking about how you're going to post your ads, how they're going to stand out. A couple different things I'm going to go into here. One of the things I posted online, the average person, we're talking the average, because a lot of people are consuming these platforms on a mobile device. When you're scrolling on a mobile device, you think about it, that's like real estate that's passing your screen. The average person scrolls the height of the Statue of Liberty every single day. Think about that. That's how much, if you added up all those screens they're scrolling through and stacked them on top of each other, the average person is scrolling through that amount of screen in a given day. So if your ad or your post doesn't do something to jump off the screen, it's probably going to be overlooked. It doesn't matter if it's a paid ad or it doesn't matter if it's organic. If you aren't doing something to stop that scroll, you're going to be overlooked. So, it used to be that, again, you could kind of put an ad out there that was okay and put a little bit of money behind it and put some decent targeting, and you would be able to get people's attention. It's getting harder and harder to do. So what are a couple tips that we could go into there? One of the things, and there's another question that came in today as well that's similar to this, but I'll go ahead so that we don't confuse the two. The visual, the picture, the screen capture of the video, you can actually choose what you want to show up as the picture, that even if it's a video, the picture that initially shows up, the picture that you use, that's what's going to stop the scroll. So be thinking about it as people are scrolling through, using a visual, using something that's going to stop the scroll. Facebook calls it a thumb pause moment, which, if you think about it as you're scrolling, you're typically using your thumb. So how do you stop the scroll? You rest your thumb on that stops the scroll. So you have to think initially, like, in a world full of noise, how are you going to stop the scroll? Typically, the way you're going to do that is with a good visual, great picture, a great screen capture from the video, something like that. The second thing that's going to pull people in is going to be the copy. And what I'd encourage you to do is, a lot of people write copy that sort of takes a sentence or two to get into it. Like, they're writing like somebody's actually reading an article or whatever, and they're writing a sentence or two to get into it. You have to use like a headline or something that's going to stand out, because people are going to skim. If you're successful in getting them to pause the scroll, they're going to skim that first line or two. If you don't grab their attention in that first line or two, they're typically going to scroll by. So start thinking about that, using a headline or using something that's going to grab their attention and pull them in at the very first sentence, ideally, and then use a little bit of copy below that to sort of bring them into what you want them to do. Click on click to learn more, click on a link, whatever you want them to do. But think about that in that order. You got to have a piece of visual that's going to stop the scroll, and then you have to have a headline that's going to pull them in. If you don't have those two things, I don't care how much money you spend on Facebook advertising, your results are going to be diminished because people are going to scroll past your ad. Even if you put it in front of the right people, there's so much noise, they're going to scroll past your ad. So I would say think about those two things. Think about your targeting. It's still important. Yes, Facebook has taken away some of the targeting options, but that doesn't mean you can't still get in there and do some very innovative targeting on your ads. Make sure you're doing the proper targeting, but then once you've done that targeting, make sure that your ad or your post is good, because no amount of money is going to overcome bad copy or a bad, creative. Anyway, hopefully that helps, Josh. And again, play around with it too. The other thing a lot of people fail to do is maybe you think an ad is like a home run, or maybe you think a post is a home run, but it just doesn't get the results. Start looking at it and saying, is my visual, is my creative good? Is my headline good? Maybe all that's missing, maybe your creative is great. Maybe your picture's great. So it's really successful in getting that thumb pause moment, but then your headline just lets them down. Maybe you're easing into the text instead of creating a headline that's going to grab their attention. So even though you created the thumb pause moment, you lost them in the copy. Or maybe you didn't even get them to stop because your creative is bad. So you didn't even create the thumb pause moment, even though your copy is good. Start dissecting your ads, and maybe don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Maybe just tweak it a little bit. Say, maybe I should try using a slightly different piece of creative here and see if that has a different result. Or maybe I should change up my copy and try a different headline and see if that has a good result. So if you're not getting good results, rather than just chuck the whole thing, if you think that it's good and start over from scratch, maybe try a couple different variations and figure out that maybe all that was missing was a great headline. Maybe all that was missing was you didn't have a great piece of creative, so there was no thumb pause moment. So start approaching your ads very strategically like that, and I think you're going to get better results. But yes, Josh, I mean, it is a little bit harder than it was before because there's just a lot more noise, just like anything else. When there's so many things that are on the feed right now that are vying for your attention, what you're putting on there better be good or it's going to get passed right by.